2020 has been a very interesting year for a lot of people, as obviously COVID has affected so many people, whether it be your personal life or your work life. But one of the biggest trends that has started to come out from this is that people are wondering what to do with their spare time. As there's no more concerts, not many people are going out to bars and things like that. A lot of people are turning outdoors, and more specifically, RVing has had a massive rise over the last year. That's exactly why we're bringing on Joe Bleackley. You're the CEO of Pacific Frontier, because we're going to be discussing a company that he has just put together. There's also an opportunity to get in on a very early seed round if this is something that interests you. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Joe, my good man. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Hey, absolutely. And like I said, COVID has changed a lot of things in the last little bit. And RVing and getting outdoors is almost having a massive comeback. But before we really get into those details, if you don't mind, for anybody who may not have met you before, if you can give us a quick breakdown of who you are, and especially in the capital markets world, what have you done?
Great. Well, thanks, Brandon. So I've been investing in the private and public markets for over a dozen years through two personally owned capital corporations. I've been a part of several publicly traded companies, both as a director and senior management in executive roles. Um, Through those companies, we've raised significant funds in the capital markets, and I've been since inception, the very early growth stages of those companies, and building out the team and the infrastructure at the most critical times of a company. So
Yeah.
most recently, I was the executive vice president and chief operations officer of 1933 Industries, which trades on the CSE as TGIF.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where actually we first met some years ago now. And now you're putting together an opportunity, like I was saying earlier, RVing and getting outdoors is a massive thing right now. People want to get outdoors, but maybe they're barred from flying around. They can't go to California, can't go to these other things. So they're looking to find in their backyard. And specifically, we're talking about BC. So if you don't mind, can you give us a little bit of a background of what is Pacific Frontier and what's the opportunity that you've put together?
Sure, and so the company was actually founded in 2019, and we founded it off the industry stats of a really healthy market prior to what happened with COVID. We saw that the industry was growing, the RV industry was growing about 10% per year. 500,000 new families would go out and uh, try camping for the first time. They'd go to Canadian Tire and buy all their stuff, or go to Cabela's and whatnot. Um, so what Pacific Frontier is we're creating a brand of modern day family camp resorts where customers can expect and receive an extremely high level of service and quality no matter which location they visit. Um, Now, I use the word camp resorts because we are not going to be offering dirt pads in the middle of nowhere. We are actually creating and developing locations in high tourism areas. We're going to be offering pools and playgrounds. There's going to be stores with candy and ice cream and all the amenities and facilities that the modern day campers require. So you mentioned BC. We chose British Columbia for multiple reasons. British Columbia has 230 operating days per year in the camping season. As you go east, Alberta and into Ontario, it gets as low as 170. So we've got a very mild climate. Not only that, in the lower mainland, we have very mild winters. So you've probably heard the expression snowbirds, where somebody will try and escape the snow and go to Mexico or Arizona. But in Canada, there's also the snowbirds that escape the eastern provinces and northern BC and spend their winters in the lower mainland of British Columbia. So I'm talking Vancouver Island, Metro Vancouver, Fraser Valley, lower mainland areas. So um, and what that does for us is it offers us not only the lumpy seasonal summer revenues, but the long-term winter stay programs where we can have revenue year-round in British Columbia. We do plan on expanding outward of British Columbia, but in the early stages and just for our first 2 to 5 properties, we're focused in BC for those reasons.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, the industry. What we noticed is that um, many of the private parks are operated by mom and pop. They use them as semi-retirement income properties. There's old infrastructure. There's a lack of maintenance happening at all these parks because they know they're going to sell them and fully retire one day. There's a complete lack of modern day marketing websites. A lot of them don't even have online booking systems yet. apps. There's no apps for them for a lot of them, and social media is non-existent too. So um, we recognize a major opportunity in coming in and rolling up the private campground and RV park industry. And that's just what we're going to do with a focus on consistency and quality at all of our locations. What we want to do is just create that experience where the customer keeps coming back year after year. And something about myself personally is I've been a camper all my life. I've owned 4 different RVs over the last 15 years. And I have 2 kids, so a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and all they want to do is go camping. So that's I know there's a lot of other families out there like me, and that's who we are targeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And when an investors look at this, we're going to get in just a moment about how will this business make money, because it's obviously, it's one thing to have a great idea. It's another, is it feasible? But there's also another element to that, and it's growth. I believe starting off, you're going to be having one campground and looking to build from that. Can you speak about what that growth may look like? And I believe you were sharing a couple of stats with me as well, talking about the growth just in RVs as well and people's interests. If you can go over those two elements, if you don't mind.
Sure. So actually, right now we have 2 locations locked up in very high tourism areas in British Columbia. So we'll be taking possession of one very shortly in the next 2 months, and the other one by the end of the year. So what the and then to answer your question on the growth there. So yeah, the RV industry has been growing 10% prior to COVID-19. So what's happened with the COVID-19 is people have turned to staycations. Um, Instead of going on their holiday in Hawaii, a lot of people have gone out and bought RVs or boats or recreational toys where they can stay local and enjoy without traveling. So the RV stats are yet to come out for what's happening, but I've heard that 2xing sales in the last 2-3 months has been a common trend throughout a lot of dealerships, upwards of 100% increase in sales over the same time last year. So that market is at the very beginning of a long-term growth phase. And something with RVs is that they're not purchased for a short amount of time. As people are committing to these, the majority of them are purchased on a 20-year financing plan. So we do expect the trend to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just hear it in my friends group, the amount of people who have either they're going to or they already have had an RV trip just this year alone. You go with 6, 8, 10 of your close friends, and then everyone's been told social distancing, watch out for everything else. So this is a perfect way to get out there. But like I was saying before, it's a great opportunity. It makes a lot of sense, but can it make money? How did this company make money when you first launch, and then as you continue to grow?
Sure. So, uh, what's wonderful about the campground industry is even the extremely poorly operated parks that have, like I was saying, poor infrastructure. They're poorly managed. They have no marketing. Even the worst of the worst are still profitable in some sense. So, what we're looking for is those parks where we can come in and we can find the opportunity and make a huge improvement. So that improvement may look like reorganizing the sites, upgrading the power and water requirements, adding a pool or adding a store. Um, that's on the actual physical property side of things. And the other opportunity we look at is how these companies are marketing themselves. So bringing a common day business acumen with fully modern websites, booking systems, apps, social media campaigns, and just having these properties reach their full potential is what we're going to do. So not only will that increase our revenues at each location, but it will increase the property value significantly. So our investors will know that as we go into these properties, we could be potentially doubling the value of them just by improving them.
Yeah, and I appreciate going over that point because that's very important. A lot of the places you go to, they've been around, run by mom and pops for many years, and they're not so much following with the times. Some of these RVs that are going around, they're quite literally houses on wheels. It's remarkable the amount of energy that they can pull. And you were speaking about yourself. You've done RVing with your family for a long time. You're passionate about this. You've got capital markets experience, but when it comes to running a company like this, you'll also have to understand How does tourism work? How does hospitality work? All these different elements. Can you tell us a little bit about the team that you put together to address those exact things?
Sure. So last year when we founded the company, I knew that the team was going to be one of the most critical components of a successful company. So we focused a lot on that. I'll talk about our president, Cam Watt, who has a long history in hospitality. He's owned hotels and restaurants such as the Keg and Bread Gardens. He's developed resorts in California, and he's an executioner at heart. He's the guy who's going to take our roll up strategy and take every single deal to the finish line. Um, Darren Prins, our CFO, is a partner at Invictus Accounting. He's served for multiple publicly traded companies as CFO, and his team provide our financial support, our financial modeling, and everything to do with finance. So then we've got on the operations side, we've recruited Stan Duckworth, who has owned and operated campgrounds for 20 plus years in the lower mainland here. He's currently operating two of them, which presents opportunity to us. But Stan covers the operational component completely for us with what he's done, and we see huge potential with creating very profitable parks. Understands operations. We have Mike Iverson, who is one of our founders and directors. Mike has a long history in the capital markets. He was chairman and CEO of uh, Nio Gold and part of Fortuna Silver. He has some great history of companies behind him. And then we also have David Galpin, who is a retired architect. He's currently our planner. And David's done some significant, I'd call them famous buildings in British Columbia. He was the lead architect on the Fairmont Chateau Whistler, the River Rock Casino, Vancouver Public Library, and a lot of very famous Vancouver structures. And it's fair to say, yeah, David is overkill for our campground business, but the background and experience there is tremendous help when we're looking at designing site plans and getting things pushed through that real estate process very, very quickly. We also have as an advisor Jason Faulkner, who is the former founder, and he's still the founder, but he's the former GM of the Sea to Sky Gondola, which is a major tourist attraction between Whistler and Vancouver. Jason has his ear very close to the ground in the tourism industry. He serves for Tourism BC and Destination BC and brings a wealth of knowledge to what we're doing on the tourism side. So we also have Samantha Abelson, who's joined our team. And Samantha is the VP of MNC Capital, which is an investment bank, and she's a former analyst at Goldman Sachs. She's going to be crucial in identifying future acquisitions and working with us on just presenting us with opportunities at that level. So we also have Nick Dirksen, who's a real estate investment professional, developer and builder in British Columbia. We have Chris Clark, who is the general manager of Travelland. They currently own 4 locations throughout British Columbia and Alberta, and also large rental divisions. So Chris brings to us the RV industry background. And then we have Jeff Testarolo as an advisor, who is the CFO of a medium to large construction company across Canada. So everyone that we have brings value to what we're doing. It was important to find experts that overlap so that at any given time we can go to these people within and get the best advice possible.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And there's some people on there who have been very accomplished in their various fields, and you need that in order to take a company. It's like I was saying earlier. It's one thing to have a great promise or premise behind a company and a plan, but it's really, do you have the people to execute that plan? It sounds like you do. Another element towards this, of course, though, is finding out about the actual opportunity at hand. Can you go over a little bit about how much money you've raised and the current amount that you are raising right now for any investors who are listening to this, watching this right now, and think, wait a second, this could be very interesting. Okay, what are the details? You can let them know that.
Sure. So Pacific Frontier Investments is privately held still. We have about 25 million shares outstanding. We've raised almost $1 million to date. Mainly friends and family founders are in those rounds. Um, Now, what we're looking for is we're going to be looking for acquisition capital. So I mentioned we have two properties locked up, and we hope to have five properties operating within 2021. So we do have a really healthy acquisition pipeline, but we need the capital to get going. So uh, I would encourage anybody to reach out to me, Joe at pacificfrontier.co, and I could share more details about the current raise. It's for accredited investors only, um, and we're working under the private company exemptions. One thing that's really important that we want our investors to know is that this company was structured from the ground up to be a publicly traded company, including the share structure and all of our raises. So we are very committed to getting this offered on the public markets. We plan to have that liquidity event within 1 year, less than a year's time.
Great, because obviously when you're making video content, we can always say so many different things. So reaching out to you is obviously the best because you can ask questions that maybe weren't asked during this, and you can get a feel for yourself and those in your team as well. So we do highly recommend if this is something that interests you, if this is something that sparked that little bit of curiosity in you, please reach out to Joe, and you can speak further on that. But Joe, just to finish up here, I would just like to ask, we've gone through so many different things of what you've created, how you created, the people who will be involved. What are the next few steps moving forward and for the rest of 2020?
Sure. So 2020 looks for the company to be just taking possession of those two properties that are one's on Vancouver Island and one's in the Fraser Valley. Um, we're going to be doing improvements on both sites. So the one property needs a significant infrastructure and reorganization. Bring everything up to that 50 amp power for those RVs with washers and dryers and dishwashers. Making sure that that's got plenty of Wi-Fi. I didn't really talk about that, but just quickly, Wi-Fi is the number one requested service that we've seen in the industry, and that's just because people can now work while they travel or just stay connected. So yeah, just to go back there, those two properties are going to take a significant amount of focus and capital just to make sure that we are creating a template with our brand. All of our parks will be, or all of our properties will be branded the same. So doing the first one and two properties right is crucial for the future of the company. So um, people, when they get there, they can expect to have the same level of service. So that's what we're focused on. Is just those uh, the marketing, the branding, the policies, procedures. What the pool looks like and how everything operates around these within these properties.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate going over all of this. And I look forward, Joe, to having more content with you and interviews as this story continues to unfold, and we're going to continue to update both existing shareholders and potential shareholders as well. So I appreciate very much for your time and look forward to having you back on our network in the near future as well.
And thanks so much, Brandon, and the rest of FTMIG for having me.
Absolutely. Take care now.